welcome to another edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Port. And once again, it is the Barnes and Tony show. Renee from the couch. How are you, sir?
Oh, me. Oh, hello, Brian. Good to see you. Hello. My microphone, is this thing on?
We got a 1-2-1-2.
Good to see you here on this beautiful Tuesday. Monday, we missed it, dude. Technical difficulties over here at the studio, but we're back here Tuesday. Big recap day. Nice and cold. Brian's got the hot coffee. Feel good.
Yeah. I mean, it's so
I
much.
had the hot coffee.
I feel like we've recited this line many times, but so much to discuss. Being off yesterday, we don't have a spare second.
We don't have another second, dude.
So let's go to the world of the National Football League.
6 for 101, 2 touchdowns. To Evans, touchdown, Tampa Bay. How about that throw? Sam Darnold blasted. Oh my goodness, did he take a hit? In trouble once, brings him down. Lost one for Odell Beckham Jr. Got it down, touchdown.
All right. And we have some comments before we begin.
A few comments, actually, it seems, from Jay Bird. Jay Bird 047, I believe.
Do we know who that is?
I don't know, man. He might be my roommate. I don't know.
Yeah.
He says, I'm so excited for Sports Sport today, like more than usual and way more than Tony, he says. I don't really know what that's about, why he's coming at me. Honestly, probably because Jay's pretty tight. Beat him at chess last night. He was not happy about that. So obviously he's just kind of trying to come at me, but I don't know why, man.
Yeah.
I mean, be better at chess, Jay.
Hey, I mean, it's tough. Everybody wants to win, right? Yeah. Speaking of, and I'm so glad. I'm always glad that Jay's joined us, but I'm so glad specifically.
Oh boy,
because you know where we have to start here.
The Jets.
We do have to start with the Jets, even though there were games on Saturday. We'll talk about those after. But it's just while Jay's here, especially, I really would like to talk Jets. And as everybody, knows by now, they do fall to the Lions 20-17. Had a chance at the end of the game to win it with a Greg Zuerlein 58-yard field goal, which had the distance, but unfortunately was very wide left. So Zach Wilson off the pine, first start since week 11, goes 18-35, 317 yards, which is high for him. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But to me, nothing in terms of Zach Wilson has changed. There's nothing to apologize for here. He is what he is, and it's an inaccurate passer and a passer that struggles to make basic throws and basic reads. I mean, 17 incompletions is just way too much. And you think about the type of damage that the Jets could have done. I mean, 17 incompletions. What if he throws 5 more completions? That could be a couple more scores, depending on the scenarios. So I just think the reason that they lost this game, well, first of all, I was shocked that they were not able to establish the run. 2.3 yards of carries. Me and Jay have talked a lot about Bam Knight. He had his worst performance since coming out the practice squad. Only 23 yards on 13 carries. So you think about that. You think about Zach with the inaccuracies and then the clock management down the stretch. I think we easily could have got Greg Zuerlein an extra 10 yards minimum if we started taking the timeouts a little earlier. And it's something I haven't seen Salah mess up before, but he definitely messed it up on Sunday. So it was tough. And obviously, you had the lead and then you let up that long touchdown to Brock Wright, right around the 2-minute warning. That gave the Lions the lead. So obviously if your defense had held, that was a 4th down play. You could have won the game, but I still think I'm just looking for more out of my quarterback. And I don't think, 300 yards is nice, but it's like the way you got it. You look at the QBR 37, the completion percentage right around 50, did turn it over, was sacked 4 times. This is a win now, results oriented, league here. And it's like, he's not getting it done. And I don't think, and tell me I'm wrong, Jay will tell me. But I just think there's nothing to like here about Zach White. And I mean, not Zach White, Zach Wilson. And I don't have no confidence in him going forward. I hate that we have no practice this week. Game
Zach
on Thursday
Wilson.
against Jacksonville.
I know, quick
Rain in
turnaround.
the forecast. I feel terrible about it. And I want some optimism to look for. I mean, what are your honest thoughts, Tony? I mean, do you disagree with anything I said, or are you kind of in the same wavelength?
Well, no, I don't think I disagree. And we have quite a few comments flown in from Jay here. And I think, one piece of positive note that he says there's still a chance at the playoffs here for them. He says Zach looks good, but obviously no Mike White. Heartbreaking TD by the Lions. Jets get fooled. I don't understand. I would say Zach Wilson had honestly probably one of his better games. I would think, though.
But that just shows
how poor.
pathetic it is.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'm
Right.
sorry.
And I don't know. To be honest, I understand like a lot of it is gonna fall on Zach Wilson here. I mean, I would be very curious to honestly hear about the overall vibe, honestly, of the team, because obviously, talks of him, losing his locker room, before he gets benched and loses his starting position, was quite the narrative. And now here he is back as a starter. I do wonder how, other players on the team felt about it. If they were kind of just like, let's give him a second chance, or skeptical, or maybe just, not really with him. But I feel like, some level of accountability has to fall on the coaches too here. I mean, I feel like the past few weeks, I've been talking about how Jets weren't really able to score in the red zone opportunities here, and just seems like play calling wasn't really about it. And I feel like, time management was also an issue this past game. You had the ball in, the last few seconds of the game here. Detroit makes a big defensive stop, and you had a timeout, left. I don't know, dude. Honestly, I think Saleh might be a little in over his head here. And I think that's what it is. You don't think so?
No, I mean, I think there was no excuse for the timeout scenario. And it's like, I feel like we've talked about this so many times throughout the season, whether it's Nathaniel Hackett, Mike McCarthy, obviously now with Saleh. Why is it so hard to manage timeouts? I mean, as soon as like you're driving, and especially if you hit on a big pass and it's going to take you 25 seconds to get ready, clearly call the timeout. If it's a shorter pass and you can get out to the line of scrimmage, sure, save it. I mean, I don't get what debate is there, Tony.
I don't know. And especially as someone, as a head coach and as someone a part of the coaching staff, I mean, you guys should be running through scenarios like all week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we got a 2-minute drill going. Like, we have timeouts left. What do we do? What plays are we calling? When are we calling a timeout? If this happens, this is like you should just know. It should be like almost second nature. Like you should have that plan figured out. Within your coaching staff, so then you give your players, the ability to win the game. And that's really what coaching is mostly about. Is to be a good coach is to put your players in the position to win games, to give them the opportunity to win games. And I just don't think Saleh did that.
No, but I mean, also the team
Right,
could have performed better offensively.
of
where
course.
there is no drive at the end of the game. They already have a handy lead, and
Right.
against a porous Lions defense, this offense just needs to get going. I mean, you look at, other than that Bears game, you take that out, the game before against the Patriots, 3 points. The game against the Vikings, 22. The game against the Bills, 12. And then here against the Lions, widely known as the worst defense in the NFL, you get 17 points. So it's been quite some time since we've seen them, have a strong offensive performance. Other than the Bears game, they haven't, had 30 points since, the game against the Dolphins, which is way back in week 5. So it's just been a while. And I just, I think all of us as Jets fan, and Jay could tell you more than anybody too, it's just like, and Michael as well, we're just tired of waiting. And I felt like this year, out of nowhere, sure. And if I looked back, before the season at 7-7 at this point with some type of chance to make the playoffs, I would have taken it. But it's like, as we always say, expectations change. as the season goes on. And I feel like we've really squandered, a good chance here. We were 7-4 and we find ourselves at 7-7. And I just feel like to finish out, and we'll talk about them in a second, but a big win for Jacksonville over Dallas on Sunday. They're not an easy team to play. The rain might play to our advantage because, Trevor Lawrence has been slinging it down the field. Obviously, if it's heavy rain, it doesn't make that as easy. But I just, this kind of really was the backbreaker for me. I felt like we really had this game to win this game, and I know we could win out. I just don't know if I see that happening, especially with Zach Wilson, short week, no practice, hot team that's has a chance to actually win the division, even though they're 6-8 because of the inefficiencies of the Tennessee Titans. So it's a tough spot to be in. It's kind of feels like we have to pray for a miracle at this point, because it's like, even if you beat Jacksonville, you have to beat Seattle in Seattle and the Dolphins in Miami. And after the Dolphins have lost 3 in a row, originally we were thinking, okay, playoff spot will be clinched. There won't be anything to play for. But now it looks like they're going to need that game. So you've really backed yourself into a corner. You're left with Zach. You're going up against a guy who was picked 1 slot ahead of you last year. He's miles ahead of where you are. Can you show anything? Do you have anything to show for yourself? Can you go out there and go 27-35 for 315, 3 touchdowns and win the game? Can you do it and lead your team down the field? Can you do it? Because I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so either, dude. I'm sorry to say, but
so it's tough. Life
Yeah.
of a Jet fan, though, unfortunately, a feeling that we're far often, just too used to,
too familiar with. Yeah,
way
dude.
too familiar. with.
I've been obviously, I'm still listening to Dave and Rick here in the morning, and dude, there are just a considerable amount of Jets fans calling in, just totally fed up with the team, the system, the coaching, the players, and there's been a lot of callers like threatening to leave the team, like as a fan.
Yeah,
which obviously, Dave has an opinion about.
Oh yeah, and I didn't even hear him, but I would imagine it has to be something along the lines of how I feel, where if you're ever going to leave a team, then you weren't really there to begin with. And
Right.
I would imagine he said something along those lines, that it's weak and like
it is weak, like you're thick and thin. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
totally.
that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So kind of just doing our synopsis here of the other games. We'll start with the 3 on Saturday. Biggest comeback NFL history. The Colts are up 33-0, lost 39-36 to Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Kirk, after a terrible start, 460 through the air, 4 touchdowns, hit KJ Osborne up and down the field. So with all that attention on Jefferson, he's able to find Osborne. Dalvin Cook had a nice game, almost 100 yards on the ground. But how pathetic out of the Colts. But I guess in a way, what are they playing for at this point? I know Jeff Saturday wants to get this job, but it's like they're better off having the highest draft pick possible. They clearly need a franchise quarterback, so the more losses, the better. And I feel like on Minnesota's side of things, like, sure, it was impressive that you came back, but it's a pathetic team like the Colts. We've seen them get smacked around most of the year. I just feel like quality opponent, playoff time, road game, cold weather. I just don't see it with this Minnesota team. I think they're too inconsistent.
Yeah,
I get you're 11-3, but
no, yeah, that's great. But this game they played like absolute dog shit. I feel like the first half, and what was it, like 33-0, 30-0 at half, something like that.
It was 33-7, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
And it's like I feel like against.
Oh no, it was 33-0.
It was 30.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
I thought I was right. I was right. Yes. Don't look it up. We got
4 touchdowns. Winner.
I just think Vikings. They play like that in the playoffs against a good team. There's not many teams in the league that are going to score almost no points in the second half and let you score 39 points, 36 points, whatever. So I still. It's a really impressive comeback victory, obviously. Vikings have done it, in the past as well. This crazy miracle, comebacks and stuff like that, last play of the game. But I just don't really see that, happening for them in the playoffs. And again, I'm still sticking to the fraudulent thing here. I still think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I just wanted to see,
even though people on Twitter were eating their words by the end of this game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the way things are lined up, right now Minnesota's in that 2 spot. Let's say they are able to hang on there. They're pretty much going to face, either the Commanders, the Seahawks, the Lions. Outside shot, it could be the Packers. I think all of those games
loss.
I don't know who's the best. We talk about Washington. I know they lost, but I think they're a tough matchup. Maybe your best matchup is honestly Seattle, just because of the way they've crashed the second half of the season.
Yeah.
If it was in Seattle, I would take them. Nobody wants to play Detroit right now, and I guess honestly, they will play before the regular season's over. So Green Bay would have to win that game to get in anyway. But come on, we saw Green Bay last night once again. We'll get to it in a second, but. Maybe they could win that game. But then once you're in, let's say you have to play San Francisco, which would be the chalk matchup in the second round of the playoffs, you're done. You're toast. You're not winning.
Right.
So it's just going to be amazing. This team, more than likely, they're definitely going to win probably 12, maybe even 13 games this year and be one of the weakest playoff teams in the NFL. It's crazy. It's something that I haven't seen before. And speaking of a weak playoff team, in the NFL, I think another one is the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
They lose to the Browns 13-3. And I know Tyler Huntley and they did get some good run out of J.K. Dobbins, but
great pick by me.
All year, Tony, they just struggle to score. You can't win if you can't score.
What is their problem? Why can't they score, you don't think?
I don't think they have a strong vertical passing attack. They don't have good wide receivers. Think about who their best receivers are. Devin Duvernay, Demarcus Robinson, Deshaun Jackson, who's 40?
He's still pretty impressive.
You have Mark Andrews, but it's just it's not enough. And I think also too, Lamar, a couple years ago seemed like he had taken strides towards being an effective pocket passer. And I know obviously he didn't play in this game, Huntley. But I think it's the same thing with him. And it's interesting. It's 6-8 Browns, maybe outside shot. More than likely not, but just trying to get continuity with Deshaun Watson. But he still hasn't lit it up just yet. He's just getting comfortable. Only threw for 161 yards, had a touchdown pass to Peoples-Jones. Nick Chubb, once again, a great year on the ground. Great game. 1 yard short of another 100-yard rushing game, but he's had 1,200 yards, over 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns this season. Right. So another great year for the running back out of the University of Georgia. Last game of the night, all-time classic, Tony. We saw the Buffalo Bills back and forth with the Miami Dolphins, who I told you everybody wrote them off, and I picked the Dolphins, but I did say nevertheless that this was going to be a close game, and that it was, and Miami had control. But the Bills seized that control late. And Josh Allen, still, I think more incompletions than I would like, but really played one of his best games of the season. 25 of 40, 304, 4 touchdowns, 77 yards on the ground. He did this, and it's funny. Stephon Diggs hasn't gone off the last couple of games. He was 5 for 60. That's a weak game for him. But Dawson Knox was actually his leading receiver, 6 receptions, 98 yards. Gabe Davis got in the mix too, 4 for 56. But Buffalo, 11-3, has a really good shot here, of kind of getting that home field advantage. We'll see what happens with the Chiefs down the stretch here, but they have positioned themselves quite well. And it's just Miami. What a shame. They ran the ball very effectively in this game. Raheem Mostert, a guy I thought, is very underrated. He had 136 yards on the ground. Ahmed added 43. So in totality, 25 carries, 188 yards, 7.5 yards a carry. Passing the ball to 17 out of 30, 234, 2 scores. Didn't turn it over, sacked twice. Found Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill for touchdowns. So despite this disappointment for Miami, I do think, get them to the playoffs, depending on the matchup. I think, they're a team that is still going to be pretty strong, despite these inconsistencies. And it's kind of interesting. In Miami, it's all come with bunches. They started out the season 3 straight wins. Then they had 3 straight losses. Then they won 5 in a row, and now they've lost 3 in a row, going into a matchup against the Packers on Christmas at 1:00. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Basically, almost in a sense, an elimination game. Packers season's definitely done. Dolphins will still have a fighting chance. But I definitely
Packers are still a fighting chance, don't they?
No, they do. But I'm saying if they lose, they're done.
Oh,
and I'm saying Miami's going to be in a pretty tough spot too if they lose. But I like Miami in that one. I don't know. Rodgers, he just doesn't impress me, especially after what we saw last night. But that was the Saturday games. Sunday was another crazy day of finishes. Up and down the league, a lot of surprises as well. One that really wasn't a surprise. The Eagles did take care of the Bears, probably closer than they would have liked, but 25-20. They moved to 13-1. But Gardner Minshew expected to start this week. Jalen Hurts nursing a shoulder injury. Do you think that's a big deal for the Eagles, or it's like, you got 3 regular season games, most likely a bye. He'll be fine. Just rest him up, get him ready to go, and Gardner can fill in?
Yeah, I think so. I think Gardner could fill in. I mean, I think because the only thing that's tough is that, he is, I guess, decently mobile, but obviously,
he's not Jalen Hurts.
Nowhere near Hurts, but
I think he's really good. We
Yeah.
saw him fill in for Hurts last year.
Yeah.
I would love the Jets to get him. I swear to God, I think he's a good quarterback.
He really is a great quarterback, and he just brings with him so much like ferocity and energy. Like he's someone who, like, people get hyped up just seeing him on the field. So I think, the players are going to love to play for him. The fans are going to be about it. And the second he starts to do well, I think he's just going to like ride the wave of the fans here. And that momentum will just, elevate his level of play. So I honestly, I love it. It's a great backup plan for sure. But I mean, definitely a little worried about Hurts. I mean, he looked like he was in a considerable amount of pain.
Yeah. So if I were them, I mean, you pretty much have things wrapped up, especially if you could win this week. I would just wait till the playoffs or just very much so limit his reps. So we'll see. Justin Fields in this game, by the way, becomes the 3rd quarterback ever to rush for 1,000 yards, joining Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. He had 95 yards on the ground. So it'll be interesting to see Chicago, possibly a strong offseason, what they will look like next year, because there is some talent there with him. That is for sure. We saw the Saints squeak by the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta going with rookie quarterback Desmond Ridder. Just didn't seem to be ready. Sacked 4 times, only threw for 97 yards, 13 out of 26. The reason why they stayed in this game, they ran the ball effectively, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. But obviously, the takeaway here is the Saints get the win, and believe it or not, at 5-9, are still in this division race, virtue of the struggles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 6-8, so only 1 game behind them. The Panthers have the same record as well. Dalton, 151, 2 touchdowns. Taysom Hill threw a touchdown pass as well, and they ran the ball effectively, 134 rushing yards. So they live for another day. We'll see if it's anything sustainable moving forward.
Taysom Hill look good?
Yeah. I mean, I would just start him full time. I mean, they did that last year when they had some injuries. I don't know. I don't get what it is with Dalton. Maybe they're crazy and think they're going to win this division. I don't think so. I mean, I know Tampa looks terrible, so I guess you never know. And we had the Steelers 6-8 now after a 24-16 victory over the Carolina Panthers. So they, stay alive, and if they win their last 3, that streak will continue for Mike Tomlin. Mitch Trubisky had to start this one, 17 out of 22 for $179. Didn't turn it over, sacked once. But the reason they won this game, running the football, that's something they've struggled to do with their weak offensive line, but they ran for 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Najee, Jalen Warden, and Mitch Trubisky with rushing touchdowns. Sam Darnold, his first loss since taking over as Panther quarterback. 225 through the air, sacked 4 times, didn't turn it over, but just not enough for Carolina. But like we're talking about, I mean, still alive at 5-9, 1 game back at Tampa for that division lead. That is pathetic, unbelievable, all at the same time. So I just thought that was kind of funny. We saw Dallas, and this is a game I called this, Tony. I knew Jacksonville's hot. We saw the Cowboys almost lose to the Texans. They fall in overtime, 40-34 on a pick six. Trevor Lawrence, who was nursing a toe injury, not practicing, you would never know by watching him play on the field. He had 4 touchdowns, was picked off once, threw for 318 yards. Travis Etienne, 100 yards on the ground, as well as a team they ran for 192. Very impressive, and at 6-8 here, an outside shot to win a division, virtue of that Titans loss. They're 1 game back, and I think they're a team that nobody wants to play because Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, they're just all on the same wavelengths. It's remarkable. You think about a year ago, the disaster with Urban Meyer, and then their poor start this season. What Doug Peterson has done with this Jacksonville team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Jacksonville, I mean, any team really scoring 40 points on the Cowboys, I mean, that's an impressive feat for sure. And I really do. I mean, I look back to like that drive. I think it was like the 4th quarter win. I think it was against the Ravens, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
When, Jacksonville literally like a minute on the clock, and it was just Trevor Lawrence just all day was just in the zone. He had it, he was just literally so dialed in. And it really showed me that this guy could really lead an offense and lead a team, to become, possibly a Super Bowl winning team here. So, I mean, obviously, really enjoyed in Jacksonville to see it from him too, especially, all the outside noise with him coming into the league, into Jacksonville that he kind of had to get through. I think finally you're seeing him, maybe mature into a nice, like, professional quarterback here. And it's, them, like you said, a chance to, get into the playoffs here with some steam. I mean, I think they could be a team that, no one really wants to overlook.
Yeah. And you think about the future of that division, nobody has a quarterback besides them.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be something sustainable for a while. And it's funny, after that terrible week 1, Travis Etienne
I know, dude,
has really had a nice year.
You were riding him hard too.
And then you think about Calvin Ridley off the gambling suspension, expected to join them next year. So with a good offseason, Tony, I mean, that could be something sustainable.
Yeah.
And it was funny, after having poor coaching last year, everybody wrote off Trevor Lawrence, say, oh, maybe we were. Nope. You see the talent right there. And that's why it's so frustrating with Zach Wilson, because you get nothing even close to what Lawrence has done this season. Nothing even close.
Nothing even close.
On the other side of the thing here, Tony, Dak, we've seen him throw a lot of interceptions. He now has he threw 2 in this game. He now has 11 interceptions in 9 games. Last year, he threw 10 in 16 games. So any concern here for the Cowboys after losing this one and getting lit up for 40 points?
I mean, for sure. Yeah. I don't know where their defense was all game here. But I mean, Dak turning over the ball, you mentioned, he had 10 interceptions last season. I would imagine that's somewhere in the upper echelon of interceptions for quarterbacks, right? In the league.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure somebody, and I could pull it up, but I'm sure someone's higher, but it's, yeah.
Oh, no,
I mean,
sure,
he's not near the lowest.
Top 50%, I'm sure,
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, that's definitely a concern. Again, when you've seen the way the Cowboys have been eliminated from the playoffs in the past, very tight games down to the last second here. You can't be thinking, you can't have it in the back of your head like, oh, like Dak at any point could probably get picked off. I don't know. I mean, what do you think it is? Why do you think is it because he's under pressure and making a poor decision, just making a poor decision in general?
Poor decision
in general. Not even that he's under pressure. Just,
I mean, I'm sure he's under some pressure, but it's like, we've seen Dak play for a while now, and he's been able to work around whatever's come his way.
Right.
He really had a lot of success statistically anyway. So it is surprising to see him, throw, that many interceptions. And actually, you are right. I mean, he is right up there. He's tied for 3rd in the league with interceptions at 11. Matt Ryan leads the league with 13, and Davis Mills with 12.
Wow.
So just kind of interesting. You look at league leaders in interceptions. The Colts are terrible. The Texans are terrible. And then you have like Derek Carr up there, Kirk Cousins. We know how they are. And then Dak's right there. But then it's funny too. Mahomes and Allen also have 11, so it could
Really?
go either way.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're doing more positive than negative, you could throw some
Counteracts.
interceptions,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think, I know sometimes I hammer this point home, but I think honestly they're going to be just fine if they really stick to running the ball and just do that almost more than you pass. So
Yeah.
this way, the defense will kind of cheat a little bit, stack the box, and then that can open up play action down the field.
Right.
I think that's the best way to go.
I think so.
And
And you had decent carries out of Elliott and Pollard, so
Yeah.
it's like,
yeah,
why not?
I think just stick to that. And your defense, most of the time won't do what it did in this game in terms of won't put you in a position where you have to throw the ball. You know what I mean? I think they're at their best controlling the clock and just running the football down the opponent's throat.
Yeah.
Big game against the Eagles this week.
Oh, boy.
What's your early kind of convictions there? Let's assume Minshew's drawing the start. You think that's going to be a down to the wire type of game where it could go either way, or do you lean one way or the other?
I think I gotta lean with the Cowboys, huh?
Just because of Minshew, or just even though you like him, but he hasn't played this year,
Right.
it's a wild card.
And they come in again. I'm also going to be operating under the assumption that the Cowboys defense, they're going to show up. And I could see them giving Minshew like a real hard time. That secondary, even their defensive line, putting him under pressure, forcing him to make decisions. Again, Minshew, I imagine Cowboys, we're going to be ready for Hurts to be scrambling.
Right.
They're probably a little relieved they don't have to worry about that as much.
Exactly.
So I think they're going to be pretty confident coming into this game too. But also looking, especially their defense, looking to really shut out another team. And this coming week is going to be the Eagles. So
yeah. And what's interesting? The team, with the worst record in the league, in line to select Alabama quarterback Bryce Young. The Houston Texans, the last 2 weeks, have taken the Chiefs and the Cowboys to the brink. But, of course, at the end of the day, just not enough. We saw the Chiefs 30-24 in overtime, defeating the Texans. Patrick Mahomes with almost a flawless game. It's 36-41. That's what I want to see Zach do.
Yeah.
336, 2 touchdowns, doesn't turn it over, sacked twice. QBR of 92.3. 100 is perfect. So as good as it gets.
Kind of
Patrick
ridiculous,
Mahomes.
honestly.
He's a machine. He literally is a machine. He's Albert Pujols when they used to do the ESPN commercial. Travis Kelce, another 10 for 105. He also found Juju Smith-Schuster for 10 receptions for 88 yards. Jerick McKinnon had a huge game. A rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, also had 122 yards from scrimmage. There's a guy, Tony, that no one even thinks about. He's had multiple ACL injuries, kind of an afterthought, but it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Eric Bieniemy. They're creative in finding ways to get guys involved and in capitalizing on their skill sets. And I think that's what they've done with McKinnon. That's what they've done with Isaiah Pacheco. Nothing was expected out of him, 7th rounder out of Rutgers. He had 86 yards on the ground and also caught a pass out of the backfield. So I know, you want to beat the Houston Texans by more, Tony, but tell me I'm wrong, but I don't know. The playoffs, I'll take Kansas City over anybody in the AFC.
I really would too. You think just defense just wasn't really around?
Yeah. You didn't sack Mills. Driscoll came in and was sacked once. And then you didn't get any interceptions. So I think if you had made a play or two one way or the other, this score would be looked at quite differently.
Yeah, I think so too. How about Houston kind of, putting a lot of points on the board the past couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, you're getting ready for Bryce Young.
Good teams.
But you think about it, Tony, there is a path forward there because I really like, even though he's out for the year now, Pierce, the rookie running back, you combine him with Young. You get him some weapons. You could build off something there. I think they will need a new coach, though. I just think Lovie Smith, it didn't work in Tampa. It didn't work at the University of Illinois, and it's clearly not working with the Houston Texans.
Yeah, it's tough.
In the toilet bowl of the day, we saw the Denver Broncos. What a coincidence. Russell Wilson injured. They go with the backup quarterback. They win the game 24-15.
Not a good look.
Brett Rippon, 197, 21-26, a touchdown and a pick. You saw Latavius Murray rush for $130 and a score. Marlon Mack also got involved with a touchdown of his own. Jerry Jeudy, 7 receptions, 76 yards. Cardinals, obviously dead in the water at 4-10. Trace McSorley, Colt McCoy split the duties in this one and combined to throw for 3 interceptions. It'll be interesting to see down the stretch. Can either of these head coaches save their job? I guess I don't even know if one's really more likely than the other. Obviously, Kingsbury's been there a while, so you would lean towards him. But it's been so bad with Nathaniel Hackett, and you had so many expectations going into this year. They might want to flip the script very quickly here and have a new voice of this football team. I almost lean that that's more likely than Kingsbury, but with more than likely that it's just both of them.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this is a results-oriented game, and they are not getting the results right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Denver, I don't know. I think Kingsbury, I mean, you talk about having expectations. I mean, picking up what should have been, a great quarterback to kind of lead a team here. Total bust, dude. I mean, there's so many other issues. I mean, I don't know much about this Brett Rippon guy, but I know he got sacked 7 times.
Journeyman washed.
Really washed?
Well, I mean, he was never good to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
Never good to begin with.
Quarterback. His dad was a quarterback, though. Mark Rippon. I think he won or started the Super Bowl with Washington back in the day.
No kidding. Dude.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. Obviously, I guess, it's not hereditary, but I mean, the man was sacked 7 times. You're still, I just feel like Denver has so many issues too. Just not even, I mean, I think it's not even within players. It's more within like the culture of the team too. You just got to get a new look, a new face, a new feel, like new everything really. Not that Arizona doesn't, but I can see Denver replacing their coach sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. How about the game in Vegas, Tony? We had McDaniels, Belichick. Seemed like this one was headed to overtime, and the Patriots do the old backyard bullshit. And Jacoby Myers on a lateral gets intercepted by Chandler Jones, 49 yards to the house. The Raiders, seemingly enough, stay alive at 6-8. The Patriots really put themselves in a tough spot at 7-7.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that play is just, I would say a piss poor play call, especially for a game where you're tied. I understand you're trying something, but why not just try and yass it downfield? Like, try it for a Hail Mary. I don't know. If you're going to run a play like that, you have to have, it can't just be a backyard. There has to be some type of scheme going to it, because it can't just be like, oh, let's just try whatever, because that's what's going to happen. Like a good defensive mind is going to watch the ball, use his eyes, intercept that ball. And then unfortunately you have Mac Jones there, who just gets totally embarrassed, like should not even be in the league, embarrassed with his attempt to tackle Chaboy on Jones on the Raiders. Dude, like, what are you doing?
Better performance, him trying to make that tackle, or 13-31 for 112 yards?
I mean, it's just like, what? You should not be in the league. He should be benched. He should be benched at this point.
Put in
that
Bailey
was
Zappi.
Just literally, that was so. I understand Bailey Zappi probably is in the future of the Patriots either, but Mac Jones is not. I mean, you shouldn't like that. I honestly, I look at that and I just think it's just, I get embarrassed for him.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you not make that tackle too?
But you know what's interesting is like, why? Because the roster hasn't changed that much. Why was Josh McDaniels last year able to get so much out of Mac Jones that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge can't get out of him this year? I mean, do you think any of the blame or more of the blame needs to be focused on that?
I guess so, but I still think I don't know. I mean, what do you think they're telling this guy? That
I don't know what. I mean, neither of them have been an offensive coordinator. Technically, I guess Patricia is, but it's like, the defensive coordinator. Like, what are we talking about? How is he the offensive coordinator? No, that would not be allowed in any world other than Bill Belichick's, because he could just do whatever he wants.
But also, you know what that kind of tells me too? I mean, I understand, Mac Jones is a young quarterback in the league. He's going to listen to his coaches, but have a little instinct here.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he doesn't have much of an instinct at quarterback. At least, maybe I shouldn't use the word instinct. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe if he had more confidence in himself, he would be able to make his own, just to look at things in the field a little differently and make better decisions on his own. Like, once you have that confidence, then you can trust your instinct and go from there. But I mean, I think that missed tackle is honestly indicative of no confidence, no instinct, because it's like making that type of tackle. I mean, dude, that obviously was a, game-saving tackle for him at that point. and he just froze, stood there, froze, didn't come up on the ball at all. And just, I understand you're the quarterback, but dude, you're playing football. You got to know how to tackle. I can name so many quarterbacks in the league that would probably make that tackle.
Yeah.
Almost everyone, really.
Yeah. That is definitely for sure, Tony. So tough one for the Pats. How about in a very odd game as far as I'm concerned? We saw the Chargers 17-14 over the Tennessee Titans. They win a game in which Justin Herbert threw 2 picks, no touchdowns, sacked 3 times, threw for 313 yards. They only rushed for 74 yards as a team. Kelly and Eckler get into the end zone. And I mean, against a team like the Tennessee Titans that you feel like they are Derrick Henry, and then they don't have much else than that. Tannehill's struggled all season. The loss of AJ Brown has killed them. And Henry had 104 yards and caught 4 passes out of the backfield, but they only threw Tannehill, 165, got injured. Malik Willis had to come in, and then Cameron Dicker from 43 yards for the win. But the Chargers, despite an ugly win, have positioned themselves well in terms of the playoff picture. And as I mentioned earlier, Tennessee has really put themselves, they've kind of backed themselves into a wall here where that division, which seems like it was a certainty they would win, is now all of a sudden a battle between them and Jacksonville. They've lost 4 straight games after a 7-3 start. Do you think this collapse continues, Tony, and Jacksonville ends up winning this division?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just the way the momentum is going here. I mean, Jacksonville, we mentioned, kind of having the wind of their backs here. I mean, how could they not win this division? Honestly,
yeah,
I really can't see them
so
not.
much better. And it's a shame for Derrick Henry though, because he's having really actually a good year. That I didn't expect him to have 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, catching the ball out of the backfield. So thought that was interesting. How about the Bucks blowing a 17-3 halftime lead, losing to Cincinnati 34-23 to drop to 6-8, and yet another team who could have seized control of the division. Now they sit there at 6-8 in a division that pretty much any team could win. Brady throws 2 picks, 312, 3 touchdowns, sacked once. They ran for 92 yards. And then Joe Burrow. I mean, what a year he's had, and he leads this comeback. Hit 4 different receivers for touchdowns. Did have the 1 pick, but threw for 200 yards. Didn't get anything going on the ground, but it didn't matter. Do you feel like this game says more about Cincinnati or more about Tampa being, the weakness and the struggles that they've had all season?
Honestly, I think it's Tampa, and I'll tell you why. I understand people were talking about, specifically you, Brian, the fall of Tom Brady and everything. But in reality, I mean, he wasn't having a horrible year. I think, he has one of the highest passing attempts in the league and one of the, he has like the lowest amount of interceptions. But now, the past couple of weeks, I think he had 2 last week and 2 this week, which is pretty unheard of for him. I think he had like 3 or 4 all season up until the last 2 weeks. And all of a sudden he's like doubling his interception rate, just like that in 2 weeks. I mean, again, I understand there's plenty of problems here in Tampa Bay, but that was certainly something Tom Brady could cling to. Having great games. I mean, I feel like he throws for 300 yards almost every week still. But I mean, interceptions, I mean, maybe he's losing a little bit of a tick on his passing or just not seeing things the way he used to. I think this loss is pretty indicative of maybe a little bit of a decline here, at least for now. Again, the interceptions say something, and then losing, this game after you had that lead. I'm sure you can count on one hand the amount of times Tom Brady has blown a lead. So it's a shame. I'm not surprised about Cincinnati though. I think Joe Burrow here is a very formidable quarterback. You love to see, good games out of him where he's actually being protected. Decent game. I think he threw for like 200 yards or something, 2 touchdown passes maybe. No turnovers. So solid game.
4 touchdowns.
4 touchdown passes. Yeah. So obviously solid game out of him. Again, seeing him, being protected in the pocket, you'll have to see that. But I think Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, I don't know, man.
But decent shot to win out. I mean, because you're at Arizona, home to Carolina, at Falcons. Desmond Ridder in.
Yeah, I think certainly a decent shot to win out. But again, I mean, if Tom Brady continues to have like even if he throws like one interception next game, I mean, it's odd for him to do that, you know.
Dude, and I guarantee the NFL is really tight about this. The Christmas Day Sunday
Mhm.
night football, Cardinals and Bucks. I mean, that's
Snooze
I know it's
fest, dude.
Brady, so they figure, oh, we'll get some eyeballs for that, but maybe Trace McSorley. I mean, that's
Oh,
tough.
I know, so bad.
Um, and then last game of Sunday, they finally get a victory here. The New York Giants goal line stand
How
on
about
fourth
them
down,
Giants? My mom
20-12 over the Commanders. So that kind of solidifies their playoff position for now as they move to 8-5.
The
water jugs are full,
Tony.
Obviously now have the tiebreaker over Washington. Another ho-hum game for Daniel Jones, 160, didn't turn it over, wasn't sacked. Had 11 incompletions, added 35 on the ground. Saquon had the best game he's had in a while, 87 yards. I think they played a good defensive game. They got 3 sacks of Heineke. He didn't turn it over. He threw for 249. They ran for 159 yards as a team. And rookie wide receiver Jahan Dotson had a big game, 4 receptions, 105 in the touchdown. Big win for the Giants here, Tony?
Oh my God, huge win, I would say. I mean, talking about, a team with some playoff implications possibly, and a team having to that has been struggling the past few weeks, looking to kind of win out. Basically every game from here on is basically playoff games here, especially against a divisional opponent here in Washington, a team that's had momentum on their side. Again, another team who obviously isn't phenomenal, but is rallying around a quarterback who has that personality, and Taylor Heineke, obviously, his level of play is pretty decent as well. But I think Giants, you mentioned defense coming up pretty huge here. Barkley, a decent game in a while. And I think that if they continue to play the rest of their season, I mean, they're definitely going to be making the playoffs. I believe they're in a wild card spot.
Yes, they're in the 6th wild card spot, Washington in 7, but then we have the Lions lurking, Seattle lurking, Green Bay lurking. So a lot to be determined over these final couple weeks.
Right. And, the Giants, again, like I was saying, every game potentially basically a playoff, implication game here. And if the Giants want to stay in command of their destiny, they have to win out here. And I would say, this past week was, I'd say a pretty good start.
And,
are you a little disappointed the Giants won?
Yeah,
I know you're rooting for Washington.
I like Washington better.
Yeah.
But now, Washington's in a tough spot at San Francisco. Giants are in Minnesota. So not an easy game for them. I know, we've talked about the Vikings and the kind of their ups and downs of the season. So just something to keep an eye out for. Last game of the week, last night, Monday Night Football. And as I mentioned, the Packers get the win, stay alive at 6-8. But another just kind of performance that Aaron Rodgers has not thrown for 300 yards this season, Tony. That is unbelievable. Throwing a lot of interceptions, way more than he had last year. He was 22 of 30 in this one, 229, the 1 touchdown, 1 terrible interception in the first half. Couldn't even believe he threw it. Sacked 3 times. Quarterback rating was a 37. But they ran the ball effectively, 138 yards. A.J. Dillon had 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones ran for 90, added 4 catches for 36 yards out of the backfield. But you're going to go against the Rams. They're broken. Baker looked cooked. 12 of 21 for 111, a touchdown and an interception.
My mother says he's too old.
But for now, Green Bay stays alive here. I mean, a game I guess you could say conceivably they could win against the Dolphins this week. But I think for them to win that game, they have to absolutely run it down their throat, because the passing game, for whatever reason, Tony, is just not working this year.
And do you think it's the receivers? Or do you
what
think
receivers? Christian Watson looks like he could be good, but I guess the rapport is the problem. You think about Rodgers, missing the time in the offseason. I think that could be a problem. They released Sammy Watkins before the game, so that's a receiver. Maybe even the Giants might want to sign, just take a flyer on.
But I mean, look at the receivers from last night's game. I mean, you had was it? It's Christian Watson. He targeted 6 times, 4 receptions. Romeo Dobbs, 5 targets, 5 receptions for 55 yards. Aaron Jones, 5 targets, 4 receptions here. I mean, AJ Dillon had a decent game. Obviously out of the backfield a little bit through the air too. But do you think these receivers just are not getting open downfield? Like, do you think that's why they're not?
Yeah,
Because I feel like Aaron Rodgers is targeting them. He's hitting them. They're making catches.
Crucial moments. To the line, I think could be better too. But also, it's just like that anticipation. That's something that you can't measure. But just with Adams, they were just in such lockstep. And I think for him to have success at this point in his career, that's what he'll need. How about this? A career low 40.8 quarterback rating for Aaron Rodgers. The previous 2 years, 74, 79. The previous 2 years, he threw a combined 9 interceptions. This year, he has 10. So really has been a season to forget in Green Bay.
Yeah, it's a real shame, dude. But honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers kind of deserves it. No,
I mean, I get what you're saying. So that's it for week 15. Week 16 will be the Jets hosting Jacksonville on Thursday. So as we get closer to that one, we will keep an eye out for it. But what a week that it was in the NFL. But let's go now to the world of the National Hockey League.
Here's Matthews. Scores! Hat-trick goal! My goodness, this is a great shot. Big hit on the far side by McCarr. He flattens Jordan Stahl. Oh, my goodness. Gets the top right back. Terrified and robbed by Shesterkin. That's brilliance from Igor Shesterkin. It's a breakaway to win it in overtime. McDavid scores! The winner in overtime!
All right, Tony. So obviously some catching up to do here. But the main thing is the blue shirts, the New York Rangers, Tony, 7 victories in a row. And you're riding high when you can win a game 7-1 with Jaroslav Halak in net. But that's what they did against Chicago over the weekend. Just so impressive. And ever since Trouba threw whatever he threw, the stick, whatever helmet.
7-0.
They've just been on this run, 7-0. Big game in Pittsburgh tonight. This is I honestly, I know you've been somewhat confident, but a little defeated throughout this. But I have a feeling that even you did not see 7 in a row.
7 in a row, no. I mean, I was definitely taking it one game at a time at the point we were at with the way the Rangers were playing. But I knew, I did say I knew it was something definitely or mental or, cultural within the team. Electing a new captain after a few years not even having a captain, because I knew the talent was there. And I think it was just a matter of the Rangers kind of finding themselves, realizing what certain players' roles were. A lot of young teams, young players on the team, as well as, players getting moved around. Kreider coming off of a big season, Shesterkin coming off of a big season, a lot of pressure on them, 2 of your best players here to kind of follow up with better, bigger seasons. So I think it just kind of took some time for the Rangers to almost like, I guess, kind of relax, honestly. I mean, it's kind of tough to pinpoint exactly what was wrong. But like you said, Trouba being their captain, I think stepped up here and held, I'm sure, some type of meeting holding his players accountable because no one was doing anything right, Jacob Trouba included. But right now, I mean, it's night and day over there at the Garden, and it's phenomenal to see. I mean, a 7-game winning streak. Like you said, I definitely certainly didn't expect it. And they've just been playing some phenomenal hockey and putting away, some of the best teams in the league right now.
And obviously, Tony, I mean, their record isn't better, but just than last year, I'm saying at this time. But just for the long term, do you think that they're better off with this kind of more balanced approach? We saw last year, I mean, they relied on Chris Kreider so much, with his 50 goals last year. This year, I mean, it's been very, very spread out. I mean, Zibanejad leads with 15, Kreider has 14, Trocheck has 11, but you have a bunch of guys 7, 8, 7, 6. You know, the goals have been very widely spread, and I think too, you would expect, you know, some uptick in scoring from the young bucks, you know, like Lafreniere, like Kako. You know, just even Jimmy Vesey has 6 goals. I mean, do you think that this is more sustainable than last year and just waiting around for Kreider?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, listen, you know, hockey is very much a team-oriented sport. It relies a lot on, you know, chemistry because it's so fast-paced and everything. And you can't really rely on 2 or 3 guys on your
But you
team.
could rely on one guy if they are Michael Theophil.
Apparently not.
I guess
No,
not.
I can't rely on Michael.
Wow.
He's not the same anymore.
I thought he would be riled.
No, Devils aren't doing too well, dude. They're on like a 5-game losing streak, dude. Oh, he's not showing up for his team. But yeah, so I mean, again, you know, you can't play hockey. I mean, I hate to say it, but this isn't basketball. You know, you can't just have one good player that just scores 50 points a game or whatever and brings you to NBA Finals. I mean, look at Edmonton, for example. They have 2 of the best. They have 2 of the best players in the league, like 1 and 2, in McDavid and Draisaitl. And what happens to them? I mean, they made it to the Western Conference Finals for the first time. McDavid was in the Western Conference Finals last year. Lost to who? To Colorado, who has, you know, a way more of a spread out team in terms of ability. And I think that's what the Rangers are kind of emulating. You know, that they're definitely understanding that, you know, Colorado's formula for success obviously had the right results, but is also very sustainable. I understand they're not having a great season right now, but they did lose a couple guys, different goaltender now, different feel for them for sure. But if the Rangers just stick to their plan right now, rely on the guys they have, because it's really not about, you know, like people have bad games. Kreider's gonna have a bad game. If you rely on him to be your goal scorer, you're not always gonna win. Kreider's gonna have a bad game, but then what happens? Filipino's there to pick him up, and then you create that culture of a team that's there for each other, everyone playing together for each other, and having that kind of mentality, that type of brotherhood. That is what brings a team to Stanley Cup Finals and victory of the Stanley Cup. So I would say certainly sustainable. And if they keep playing like this, they may never lose another game.
Yeah,
obviously
I mean,
not. But
wouldn't that be nice?
That would be nice, dude.
But
they can't win every game, Brian.
Well, why can't
they
they
just
though?
Not lose again, Brian?
Yeah, can't they just do it? So that being said, Tony, we got 8 tonight, so we'll pick 4 apiece. And you, my friend, are now in the lead, 50-48. But we know it's been very back and forth,
dude.
But if you would, with your first selection of the night.
I mean, oh man, I've been sticking with the Rangers, right? I know it's going to be a really tough game tonight. Excuse me, sorry. But
You're doing it.
Yeah, I got to do it, dude. Why not? You got to ride the wave of the blue shirts here. And I know we've been saying this, you know, I feel like a lot for the past 5 games, but I would say one of the Rangers' toughest contests this season.
If they win this,
dude, Michael's going to freak out.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like beating Toronto, beating the Devils, beating Colorado, you know, beating teams, you know, a couple weeks ago, beating Chicago was an issue, you know, so I think coming in here, I believe this is the first time these teams are playing each other this season. Let's see. Yes, it is. First time they're playing each other. So obviously, you know, I can't really say, oh, Pittsburgh played them, different team, whatever. But regardless, you know, Pittsburgh was on a hot streak. They just lost to Carolina 3-2. Before that, you know, obviously they beat Florida, they beat Dallas, which is great for them. They did beat Buffalo twice, but struggled a little bit, had to beat them in overtime. And the Rangers obviously have been on just this phenomenal win streak so far, and they've just been scoring goals. I understand, you know, Colorado was kind of tight. Jersey was in overtime, but they still scored 4 times, scored 7 against Chicago, 6 against Philly here. So taking care of business. You mentioned their goal scoring has been like very spread out. Pittsburgh obviously relies on like three guys, Malkin, Crosby, mostly.
What about Good Snow?
Good Snow, obviously being a tertiary guy, why not? Gensel.
Tried to set you up for that one.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to not knock Pittsburgh at all because they picked it up as well. But I just think right now, the Rangers are just like firing on every cylinder. Their defense has been hot. Keandre Miller has been doing such a great job, not only on defense but offense too. But his defense has been so solid. You're getting phenomenal back checks from some of your forwards here in Panarin and Zibanejad. It's going to be really hard, honestly, to go against the Rangers here. So I'm going to say Rangers do it. I would say I would keep it pretty tight, 3-2. And I'm kind of surprised with this line. Pittsburgh's minus 135 right now. So kind of
home ice.
At home ice, I suppose.
Probably law of averages. The Rangers are due to drop one. I'm sure that.
True. And I guess that is a pretty tight line anyway. Just minus 135 isn't crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm still taking the Rangers here. Let's go 8 games in a row, bud.
So we have the battle between Michael and Chokery in North Carolina tonight. The Hurricanes hosting the Devils.
What do you got, dude?
The Devils have lost 5 games in a row. And it's funny. Didn't somebody on this show, I forgot who it was, just said troubles around the corner. They're due for a bad streak. Didn't someone say that?
Hold on. You said because I have numbers right here, actually.
Yeah.
On December 13th, the Devils would go 4-6 in their next 10 games.
And they've lost 5 in a row.
But I mean, that kind of seems like they went 5-5.
No, I think you said on December 13th.
I know on the 13th. I didn't really
the
follow
13th,
up.
Today, that's only a week. They've lost all the games they've played, Tony. You're trying to throw me under the bus here. What did they play? 10 games in 7 days? Come on,
5.
Tony.
Well, yeah, 5.
0-5.
Yeah, 0-5. Since December 13th.
Today's the 21st.
I understand that. No, but I think that may have been.
No, you said the 13th.
That may have been the end date.
No. It was. I definitely said it on that day.
So the 13th was last Tuesday.
Yeah, 0-5.
1, 2, 3. They're 0-3 since the 13th.
They've played 3 games in a week. Oh, I guess that actually does make sense. So yeah, either way, like this is all just backing up my point. Anyway,
I think that the 12-13 was the end date.
Anyway, Tony,
I think I may kerfuffled this.
If you're gonna make a point, be sure about it. All right?
I know. Well, I wrote it down.
Anyway, it kind of going against what I'm saying here. I don't think the Devils are going to lose again. I think like I'm meaning tonight. I think they will win tonight. And
Robert first said
the Hurricanes
trouble around the corner.
The Hurricanes have been playing very well. I think this is going to be a close, highly contested game. But I'm going to say Jack Hughes, winner overtime, 3-2 Devils over the Hurricanes. Instant classic. And for some reason, I don't remember first saying that.
Honestly, I don't remember that either, to be completely honest. But I mean, it's quite possible he could have said that while Mike was in studio. Also, Brian, though, kind of surprised you're going with the Devils.
Like I said, it's just because of the losing streak.
I know. It's so tough, dude. Does Chokery know?
Chokery know that I picked them?
Yeah.
He will know.
You got to text him. Be like, hey, man.
He understands. It's a long season. You can't win them all, Tony, like you just said.
Dude. All right. Let's focus here. My next game here. Dude, Kraken's been playing pretty well. They're at home against the Blues tonight. Oh, not a huge slate, actually. I thought it would be a much bigger slate tonight. All right, give me the Kraken. Just because Jordan Eberle, I understand Kyrou, I forget how to pronounce his name.
I think it's Kyrou.
I think it's Kyrou too. Came up a hat trick last night, I think, actually. They're playing back-to-back, maybe?
Could be.
Could be. The 19th was yesterday. Yes, they beat Vancouver 5-1. 4-game win streak. I would say definitely tired legs. I understand, they're on the 4-game winning streak. St. Louis, good. Definitely an overlooked team in the league. But Seattle at home, Jordan Eberle has been doing some magic. They're very impressive goals from Seattle. Again, a lot of great talent on that team. I just think they need either a better leader, or maybe it's coaching or something. But they need something to bring that team together because they do have a lot of talent. Barry Trotz, perhaps. But give me Seattle tonight at home. The Kraken winning this game. I would say 3-2.
And what a step forward, though. I mean, I know they kind of turned it around towards the end of the year last year, but they were kind of a laughing stock for most of the year.
A little bit.
One of the last games of the night, I know it's kind of, I'm going back to the well here. Give me Carlson and the Sharks. I just think the Flames have just underwhelmed all season, and that for them to be minus 178 on the road, I think is nonsense.
Another
Tony.
dog, dude.
Absolute nonsense. I think this is going to be a defensive-minded game. I'm going to say 2-1 Sharks. Carlson, both goals to get them up to 14 on the year, and another good game in net for Remmer. As the Flames move to one game over 500, how the mighty have fallen, Tony.
Oh my gosh, dude. And you talk about a team that's being overlooked on the road here. The Lightning in Toronto, minus 135. Toronto's favored here. The Lightning on like a 7-game win streak, I think. Let's see here. They beat the Flyers. Oh no, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're on a 5-game win streak. Nonetheless, I think that this team significantly overlooked here. Toronto, I understand, great team, a lot of talent. They were doing well. They lost to the Rangers 3-1, just lost to Washington 5-2. The way they've been playing, they couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag, Brian. So give me Tampa Bay, who's been on fire here, coming into Toronto, overwhelming Toronto with offense. Matt Murray is not going to know what's coming at him. Give me Tampa Bay here. I would say decisive victory. I'm going to say 6-3.
I'm going to go better of two evils here. Give me the Kings over the Ducks, two teams that I don't exactly hold in high regard. But the Kings have obviously shown at 17-12 versus the Ducks 9-20 that they are the superior team here, and I would expect nothing less tonight. I just think, the Ducks are a disaster on defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings put up 5 goals, and I would think that the Ducks probably only scored 2. I mean, that's the type of year that they've had. Gibson is 3.99 goals against. His backup is over 4.
Love it.
So, and also who's having a nice year, I'm not really familiar with him. Kevin Fiala leads the Kings with 25 assists. He's had a nice game, 26 years old. 2014 first-round pick out of Nashville.
Okay.
So I think he's going to move the puck around, and we are going to see the Kings, pick up this victory. And actually, last year he was on Minnesota. Actually, the previous
that was
4
his
years.
Breakout year, right? Did we look him up? I think before. Yeah.
33 goals, 52 assists. So that's been a nice pickup for the Kings.
I would say so, definitely. Young talent too.
Yeah,
love the young talent, dude.
Yeah,
great pick, Brian. Is that it? All right.
No,
one more.
No.
Force?
Yeah. Wait. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got one more. Yep. I thought you only had 2 for a second, but yeah, one more.
Oh wow. Okay, so there's only 2 games to pick from here. We got Blue Jackets, Flyers, Senators, Winnipeg. Ooh, dude, the Battle of Toronto. And the Flyers, Blue Jackets, Battle of the shit shows, huh? Oh man, I want to take Winnipeg, but Winnipeg at home, but Ottawa has definitely shown some bright spots here. I do enjoy the Senators, but they just first time these two teams are seeing each other this year. Winnipeg lost 5-3-2 most recent to Seattle. Oh, it's a tough spot. Give me. I want to take the dog. I know. Chuck, Giroux. You know what, dude? And I didn't do this any games yet. Let's look up the starting goalie.
Wow.
Just really, to make sure here. Because I want to see it. Maybe Talbot's starting. I don't know. Because this is a tough pick here, dude. And your last pick also very tough, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah. So don't be looking at me. Carter Hart confirmed for the Flyers, by the way.
There we go.
So that's pretty good. Nobody confirmed yet for the Senators.
I would say that'll probably be the matchup, though.
Yeah, I would say so too. I guess give me Winnipeg. I mean, Hellebuck has been having a great season so far. Only 1 overtime loss, 16-7, 928 save percentage. I understand Ottawa's definitely on the uptick. They did just lose to Minnesota. And Winnipeg has been, I think, impressing everyone. Probably the second best team out of Canada here this season so far. Arguably with the Toronto Maple Leafs, they could definitely keep up. So give me Winnipeg here. Scheifele, 2 goals, 2 assists, probably. He's been on fire. Jacob Morrissey, I believe, is his name too. 36 points on the season. Josh Morrissey here from Calgary. Give me a goal from him. I would say Winnipeg wins this 1-3-1.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna actually go against the grain here. I know Hart's starting, but give me the Blue Jackets. Just kind of taking the opposite of what you would think. Johnny on the spot, only 10 goals this year. I think he has two and an assist, 3-2 in a shootout over Carter Hart and the Flyers. So the Blue Jackets get a much needed win. So should be another interesting night of hockey, and it will be quite the story if the Rangers can run it to 8 in a row.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I understand, Johnny Gaudreau, I mean, he has 33 points in the season, but I mean, coming off of a year, obviously, like, his last year, 82 games played, 40 goals, 75 assists. Obviously not on pace for that. But it's pretty crazy to see, maybe he really isn't as great as people thought. Because you look at his previous years, 2020, 56 games played. So obviously, I would imagine at some point he was injured.
Were there less games?
Oh, shit. Yeah. That's right. 2020, 19 goals, 30 assists. Year before that, 70 games played, 18 goals, 40 assists. 19, he had a decent season, 82 games played. 36 goals, 63 assists. But I don't know, man. Maybe a little inconsistency here. 18, 19 is probably his second best year of his career.
Could have been a product of the environment. Had a lot of talent on that team last year.
That's true. I don't know, dude. I think it's tough. I mean, he's got to pick it up.
Yeah, he probably needs some help from his teammates as well.
Oh, I'm sure, but still, I mean, you would expect him to be
just doing everything he can to just put the puck in the net.
I mean, in Calgary, he really took control of the games.
Yeah,
like he was their guy. He was their guy. Like that's it. So crazy to see him again. Columbus. It's just so mind-boggling that he chose Columbus. I don't know. Hate to see waste of talent, honestly.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, if he can kind of turn this season around. Other than that, though, I just wanted to because we haven't talked baseball in a while, just talk about
some crib notes.
Swanson 7 for 177 to the Cubs. You think about they added Bellinger and Tyone. Suzuki came over from Japan, bless you, last year. A little underwhelming, but they're expecting him to take a step forward. You still have Ian Happ. What do you think about what Chicago has done here?
You know what, Brian? I think that they're making a pretty decent push to have a good team, honestly. I mean, I understand Bellinger has struggled, but I could see him, I don't know, a little bit of a change of pace for him, maybe, having some success over there in Chicago, honestly.
Does he break 235?
Yeah, I think so.
It's funny though that would be a big accomplishment.
I know. I could see him, maybe getting some of his power back. He still is obviously, a great outfielder to have. Defensively very sound. Just his struggles at the plate has been, quite perplexing for a lot of people around the league here. And I think, with him, and I think with the culture maybe the Chicago Cubs have. Swanson was a great get too. I mean, you talk about a good clubhouse guy. He's gonna be a decent bat for you.
I mean, he's basically your team captain at this point.
Basically, dude. I think it. I mean, the Cubs still have work to do for sure.
Inan Conforto, supposedly.
Yeah, I bet
that market's heating up.
Yeah, no, that's
not many
for sure.
Options left.
And I'm sure with Martinez gone, the Mets should really look into him as well. But.
Yeah, Martinez to the Dodgers, Benintendi to the White Sox. So the options
for
just are not there.
Down, yeah, but I like the way the Cubs are looking. What do you think? I mean, I'm not expecting a lot out of them, but I think
they could say, because this division has been weak the last couple of years. I think if they get Conforto, I think they actually might have a pretty good lineup. Ian Happ, you never know what you're going to get there.
Who's there? Not Suzuki, but didn't they have like another young dude who was decent?
I know,
not very familiar with Chicago Cubs here.
Yeah. Patrick Wisdom made the All-Star team a couple years ago, but he was an older rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple guys. You got Stroman in the rotation as well. A guy I like Hayden Wiesenski, former Yankee farmhand, who came over in the Efros deal. So it'll be interesting. I think they could be competitive, and I think Conforto would be a nice get for them.
Honestly, and I think Stroman had like kind of a decent year.
Terrible
start, but I'm pretty sure towards the end, like, I mean, I think he got his ERA down pretty considerably.
3.5. Yeah, he was way. Yeah, you are right about that. So you never know. I think it's a good step forward. A little disappointed, showing the door to not only Seth Lugo, who goes to the Padres for only $15 million, but former Met great Trevor May. I am Trevor.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Trevor May. Again, I mean, I'll start with Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo, obviously, you mentioned it, wanted to be a starter. I think there was an opportunity for him, though, with the Mets to be a starter, but I guess, Edward didn't see it, which kind of surprises me, again, because it seems like they were trying to get rid of Carrasco. I understand you have McGill, but, like, why not have Seth Lugo be your 5 starter?
Yeah.
He could go the distance. He started before, I guess good for Seth Lugo for knowing his worth, but I definitely would have liked to see him stay. A lot of Mets fans I've noticed didn't really like him, honestly. But I kind of thought he was someone who was pretty consistent and, a utility pitcher, someone who you can trust out of the pen, really at any inning, someone who you can trust starting. And I understand he had some issues. But so does every other pitcher. Like, I don't know. I thought he was just like a solid guy that you can kind of rely on. That it's not like, oh man, like it's not like a Trevor Williams or a Peterson starting a doubleheader. And I think at this point now, I mean, we need people in our bullpen. Like, what do we do?
Ottavino's still out there, right?
Ottavino's still out there.
I would just bring him back.
You have to, because May and Lugo are gone. There was your main 2 guys.
Michael
bullpen.
Givens, back to the Orioles. 1 year pact.
That's fine, dude.
You know who's out there that I think the Mets should sign? I would like the Yankees to sign. It's funny. He's been on each team previously. Brandon Drury. He's out there. He had 28 home runs last year, 87 runs scored, 87 RBIs, can play third, first, outfield, second. I can't believe there's not more of a market. And maybe he's just waiting it out.
I didn't think he was still out there.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. Pick up Drury. What are we doing?
Yeah. That would be slot right into the middle of the lineup for the Mets. Yeah. So
who did he go to? He was on Cincinnati,
San Diego,
right? And then San Diego. It's right, dude.
And I guess Sports Edge is reporting that Diamondbacks have checked in on him.
I'm sure.
But it's just a natural fit when he's been there before.
Are we like missing something?
No, I just saw MLB trade rumors. Market for Brandon Drury very active.
Oh, I bet. Well, I'm just saying, like if I were the Mets, I would have picked him up. Earlier. If I was any team, I would have picked him up.
I don't know. Maybe they don't want the give into his demands.
How old
I'm not
is
really
he?
Sure.
He's kind of young,
28,
right?
I think.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Or is he older than that? He is 30, but either way.
Still, dude.
And then also we did see Justin Turner, 2 years, $22 million to Boston. What an embarrassing offseason for them.
Yeah, they really haven't done much, huh?
Like, I get it. The beard, he kind of fits in with the Red Sox, but that has nothing to do with on-the-field production. I just don't see it happening in Boston.
And Turner, 33?
Try
35?
38.
Is he really?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Wow, dude. So I mean, again, maybe he can, bolster some home runs early in the season, but longevity-wise, not great. And, I was seeing some videos of, Boston working with some of their young guys, like in the offseason. Are they just trying to rely on some younger prospects? Who's their pitcher? Brian Bello?
Yeah, Brian.
Michael, do you want to say something? No. Come here.
This is the best sports show out there. It's ridiculous. I think there should be more time off so we could have you guys on longer.
Dude, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it should be interesting to see, I guess, what Boston does. I mean, Bello, if I'm not mistaken, I was picking every game against Bello because he was getting absolutely plastered out there. I understand first year in the majors and everything. And he's working with, I think, Pedro Martinez. Maybe they're hopeful for some of their younger guys, but I mean, what are they doing, dude? Like, honestly,
It's sleep at the wheel.
sleep at the wheel, dude. You know, like, jeez, dude.
Well, Prefer with some kind words.
Best sports show in the world,
There we go,
baby.
Prefer.
There we go.
So
Thank you, Prefer.
as we've mentioned here, there's a few options for free agency, so we will keep track of those, and I would imagine some trades along the way. Officially, we already knew this, but Mike White ruled out for Thursday night's game against Jacksonville. But
That's tough.
I mean,
dude.
I think we haven't even really talked about it much, Tony. But it's just like I would just assume, unless it's like a 5 interception game, that they're gonna just go with Zach and let him
Probably,
burn them to the ground.
What
to
how do you
finish the
feel about
season.
though Mike White going to like 10 doctors?
As far as what? Like,
I mean, I think it's kind of like stupid. Like, do you think he's obviously just fishing for a doctor to clear him?
oh yeah, but I mean that's
But
just
it's like,
shows.
dude, you
But
can't-
that's the guy you rally around. That's the guy who wants to be out there. That's the guy who's not gonna throw people under the bus like Zach Wilson did when they lost to the Patriots on that punt return. And I know he took some accountability after the last game, but it's
Right.
come on, Mike White is a leader. Zach Wilson is not. He's more
Wow,
worried about his
dude.
mom's friends than his teammates. That's the
Yeah,
problem,
dude.
So,
Mormon.
yeah, because I guess they're
He was like sleeping with
His
and
mom's
or
best
hanging
friend.
out with his mom's best
in
friend
the off season. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, he's a dog now. Like he's gonna have
Yeah.
a big year."
He's a
and-
loser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, dude. I knew it the second they drafted him. You saw the look on his face.
Yeah.
The Jets. I don't know, dude. I think they just need to get rid of Salah, get rid of Wilson.
I kind of like Salah. I almost think just get a different offensive coordinator.
I mean, I think Salah has a good mindset.
Yeah.
He has kind of a no bullshit, old school esque
yeah.
mindset. But I mean, maybe it is new offensive coordinator. But then, like, if your offensive coordinator isn't good, shouldn't Salah come in and be like,
No,
I'm fucking calling the plays?
I know this sounds crazy,
Like,
but just hear me
you're the
out
head coach.
for 1 second here.
you got?
And it's kind of linked, former NFC West rivals here. Let's say Kingsbury gets canned. Offensive coordinator next year. I think he can call plays. He's just not a good leader. But in terms of offensive innovation,
Right. Okay, let's do it.
I'm on board for that.
Because they need anybody else than what they have, honestly.
Yeah. But other than that, Tony, screen time on the horizon?
Screen time on the horizon, looming around the studio here. 1 o'clock. Manny's back in town. Oppenheimer trailer just dropped yesterday. A movie called 65, sci-fi. Brian's favorite genre of movies just
Nice,
dropped as
dude.
well yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
White Lotus review as well, Brian. Maybe you
might
want to
chime
stick
in on that one.
around,
Might
dude.
chime in on that one. Yep.
So it's gonna be a great episode. Nice Tuesday. Maybe we'll talk a few Christmas movies as well because it's the holiday season. No, Brian.
You know what was on the TV? Pooch was watching it. I
Elf?
Deck the Halls. I feel like that's a movie you like. I could see Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised.
It
I'm
was all
surprised.
right,
I'm not saying I liked it, but I'm just saying it just seemed like you'd be like, oh, it's a classic.
I think I saw it once. I wouldn't say it's classic.
Wow.
Dude,
Wow. All
but,
right. Interesting.
yeah.
You get surprised every day.
Honestly, the holiday movies, I think sometimes are kind of forced.
Like most movies.
I
but-
don't like Elf, Brian. I don't like Elf.
Can we give Tony a round of applause here? Thinking with his head right there. Renee really liked that one. But yeah, definitely catch that episode of Screen Time. But once again, what a day, what a life. Really appreciate everybody tuning in and continuing to comment, like, and subscribe. Checking out the archives on the YouTube page, Tony, Michael, Renee in costume, the merch, downtimetv.com. Everybody enjoy the day, enjoy Screen Time, enjoy the games. Let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.
And we will see you mañana.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.